Do you support banning social media for anyone under 14 YO? Why? Story 1. In theory, but how do you implement it? Does it require me using my government ID to use the internet? I want less surveillance, not more. Answer. If only there were people like parents who could do this job. Edit. You guys can't read in between the lines, so let me spell it out for you. Parents shouldn't need to organize and verify identity. Didn't think that needed to be said. Parents should take responsibility of being parents to monitor and moderate their kids. It's called parenting. Here's Webster's. Parenting noun. Parenting per NTI. Synonyms of parenting. 1. The raising of a child by its parents. 2. The act or process of becoming a parent. The taking care of someone in the manner of a parent. Story 2. Yes. I mean, most platforms require users to be over 13, but kids half that age are addicted to it. But the Online Safety Act isn't the way to do it. We need to treat it like we did smoking and make it socially unacceptable for kids to be on social media and for parents to be allowing them on there. Parents should face similar consequences as they would if their child is skipping school, smoking, or engaging in antisocial behavior. It'd take time, but if we acted on this, things would change. Answer. We also need to target the right culprit, the social media corporations themselves. Don't force them to implement anything specific. Just make it clear that children under a certain age cannot use the platform and then apply severe fines for violations. Make it easy for people to report violations with links or screenshots via some kind of online portal or app. If there's a monetary incentive to stop kids from using their services, that's larger than the monetary incentive of trapping kids into their services. Trust me, suddenly they'll have extremely fine-tuned algorithms to spot the children without even needing government ID. Story 3. There is no safe way for the government to do it, so no, I do not approve of the government doing it. What parents do with regards to this and their kids is their business. Story 4. Let's start with the basics. How do you define social media? Is YouTube social media? Is Reddit? Are forums like Stack Exchange or GitHub social media? How about online video games? Niche platforms for marginalized and vulnerable populations? Then how do you enforce it? Is the burden for age verification on each platform? How does Reddit remain anonymous? Are we giving our SS numbers to every company we interact with? Our driver's licenses? Can we trust 4chan to be good stewards of our PII? What happens when children find themselves on unsavory sites that decide they don't want to comply, that don't have robust moderation or enforcement protocols? Banning adult content does nothing but push users to less reputable sites that aren't willing to comply with the law. Why is social media different? Social media is frequently used by LGBTQ children to connect with each other and find their voices. Are we going to take that away from them? Are we going to require that those populations above 14 identify themselves in ways that might put them at risk of being outed to a government that doesn't want them to exist? In so many ways, age verification does nothing to protect people and everything to harm privacy and freedoms. Answer. Let's start with the basics. How do you define social media? Is YouTube social media? Is Reddit? Are forums like Stack Exchange or GitHub social media? How about online video games? Niche platforms for marginalized and vulnerable populations. This is the point I always make whenever this is brought up. It's the exact problem Australia is currently scrambling to figure out the answer to. They passed a law banning social media for under 16s last year, due to come into effect in December. And right now there's a mad dash to figure out what it is they just banned. They keep going back. And fourth, on whether YouTube is part of the ban list, for example. The UK's Online Safety Act also came into effect earlier this week, with a similar but not quite identical aim. And the result of that has also been mass confusion as to what content is supposed to be regulated. Ban social media for kids is vibes-based politics at its worst. People have a vague mental image of what constitutes social media and think it will magically only apply to that. But that's not how writing coherent legislation works. Australia and the UK are currently learning this the hard way. Story 5. I understand that social media can have adverse effects on people, but unfortunately I don't think there is any way to put the genie back in the bottle on this one. VPNs are incredibly easy to get and would easily circumvent any blocking in this country. Additionally, I wonder how many parents will let the kids log in when they are tired and just want the kids to be quiet. The number of times I've seen parents give young kids their phone to watch a movie or to play games is beyond counting. Finally, prohibition never works. We ban cigarettes for under 18s and yet kids are still smoking. Same. With adult beverage and everything else. The US introduced prohibition into their constitution, but people still found ways to get adult beverage. The best way to manage things like this is not through prohibition, but through harm minimization. Answer: outlaw the data gathering and the targeted ads. Require anonymity. Require minimum age to get partnered on ads. Federalize the ISPs and take it back to the old days of the FCC and require that anyone posting or selling anything on the internet be acting in the public interest and start litigating the fudge out of every shoot social media scammer and the platforms that enable them. Either social media will adapt and figure out how to exist without being a danger to society, or social media can go the way of the dinosaurs. Story 6. I don't, because in this day and age, the youth needs to know how to protect themselves and how messed up the world, including social media, can be. We're definitely not in the 80s anymore. Also, the more tech-savvy you are, the better off you are, and social media, as effed up as it can be, does help one develop social and tech awareness. So the only thing I'd do is I would tell cautionary tales and teach my kid not to do stupid dares and try not to helicopter. Story 7. Nope, it's the parents' job to control it. Also, apparently, in the US, they're using AI to age verify people on YouTube. Story 8. Even if the whole age verification was able to be put out perfectly, no security issues, no nothing, I still wouldn't think it was a good choice. Even though social media has definitely caused issues for people, it's also caused a ton of good for others. What needs to be regulated is how they use social media, like a parent teaching them and actually monitoring what they do in there. Social media isn't inherently bad. Story 9. No, there isn't a good way to implement this kind of ban. Also, I think it should be a parent's decision as to what content their child should and shouldn't have access to. Kids develop at different rates, and their parents can decide when their child is ready for the internet better than a generalized rule ever could. Story 10. Not in the way the UK has just done it. The government and corporations should not be invading the privacy of its citizens to make up for the failures of bad parents. Story 11. No, I don't think social media should be banned at all by governments. It should be up to parents to, parent their kids on the dangers of social media and the internet. When governments get involved, they just find ways for even more control of the people. Yes, I know I sound insane. But first it's social media, then it's games, music, then it's books, and the way you talk, dress, eat, and hell, the way you pray or think, all under the disguise of protect the children or protect society. Story 12. I would agree, but can't in good conscience because a lot of kids live in abusive or unsupportive home environments, and social media serves as a really good escape and way to privately reach out to friends and safe people. Answer. Not only those with abusive parents, but those who just don't fit into their local communities benefit as well. I'm an autistic, queer, nerdy person. I grew up, and still live, in a rural area where all anyone cares about is tractors and football, so I was very socially isolated as a child. It did get better as a teenager, but I still had no physical way of talking to my friends over the summer. Being able to talk to them online improved my life so much, and I'd say the internet really helped me discover who I am. Story 13. Lol, no. What kind of police state do you want to live in? You feel like verifying your identity every time you want to use the internet. Story 14. Ban phones from schools, classrooms. Otherwise, it'll take a cultural shift of parents actually parenting instead of handing their toddler a tablet as soon as they can be entertained by it. Any laws requiring ID or verification should be avoided. Story 15. No, because it doesn't work anyway, and instead you push teens to lie and pretend to be adults. Parents should just parent their child. Story 16. I don't really support this. Those years are probably the most social you'll ever be, and social media can help with that in this day and age. You can put measures in place to protect them, sure, but outright banning it? Story 17. No, I support parents actually fudge parenting. We're allowing serious government overreach because people are too fudge lazy to look after their kids and monitor what they are doing. Story 18. No, because we don't live a world where anyone proposing this type of legislation cares about protecting children. Every single one of these proposals is nothing but a power grab that will be used to further eliminate privacy and control free speech. The only way to truly identify a person's age is to require personally identifying information in the form of photos, videos, or government-issued IDs. We're seeing this happen at a terrifying pace in the US right now, and there are very serious consequences to attaching your online profiles to personally identifying information. Story 19. Good in theory, but to enforce, they might require people to hand over their IDs to social media companies, and I value my privacy. Maybe we should instead have parents actually parent their kids instead of relying on the government for it. Story 20. No. And I'm not falling into the "but it's the children" trap either. The current actions are to establish control, and I feel like it's happening everywhere at the same time, from Australia to EU-UK to US, as it was a coordinated thing. You know who has a similar system in place already? China. And it's not working. Parents and older brothers, sisters, friends, etc. just make accounts for the kids with their ID. It doesn't work at all, yet costs millions to implement, and ultimately leads to more surveillance. Good parenting is what is needed, but frankly, I think a lot of parents shouldn't be ones. They're just bad at it. Story 21. I can't think of any technical measure which will actually work for this. Requesting big-name platforms demand ID, particularly in such a way as to require personal legal information, will simply mean people leave for less authoritarian options. Story 22. I don't need people telling me what I can and can't do for my family on the internet. It's not their business. Story 23. Yes, and for everybody else while we're at it, let's go back to forums moderated by a couple of neckbeards in their basements. That had its downsides too, but fudge up entire countries wasn't one. Story 24. Honestly, I support torching all social media to the ground and salting the earth. They are evil. Facebook and Twitter data centers ought to be nuked. Story 25. In theory, yes. Social media, in my opinion, is like a substances, one to be used responsibly when you have a level of brain development that understands the impact it's having. In practice, no. There's no feasible way at this stage to control for it without giving up certain privacies to bodies and entities that I don't believe have our best interests in mind. Story 26. Probably. I listened to a podcast once that made the point that we massively restrict all these things that we know are bad for kids: adult beverage, tobacco, etc. But when it comes to social media, we do nothing despite research showing a clear link between social media use and child-adolescent tragic end. The notion that it's not worth bothering just because they'll just find a way to access it is nonsensical. By that logic, we should hand the kids each a bottle of whiskey and a cigarette and tell them to have a great time. Answer: hard disagree. This is on parents mostly. Be better parents or be involved with your kids' online usage ASAP and teach them proper online etiquette, and that a lot of those people on social media are real people with entirely different lives, backgrounds, culture's preference, seats. Then also be more in tune with your kids' emotions and don't treat them like their emotions are invalid. One of the main of only causes of being tragic end via social media I can think of is kids getting bullied for being different. Different how? All the things the government are using to classify as mental disorders currently. Making being the number one bully pointing kids to tragic end is our government telling them that being different is wrong and should be shunned. And or if you're not making lots of money or having lots of babies, then you're a failure. This censorship will not fix that. Learning or teaching empathy, humility, and compassion will. And teach not to enforce, but so they may learn. Or at the very least, love thy neighbor enough to stay out of their business. Story 27. I have had unrestricted internet access since I was a young child. I'm very sure I turned out fine. It's not the matter of if children use the internet, but how they do it. Answer: definitely. A lot of parents don't even have the proper resources to teach their kids how to navigate on the internet safely. There are a bunch of other factors other than social media bad that can direct a child towards darker corners of the web. Some people forget about Chatroulette and many other websites that were widely used by minors back in the day. A lot of minors will find a way to access those platforms anyway, as they can with cigarettes or else in the physical world. While social media can be harmful to kids, centering the discussion around ban not ban seems like a gross simplification. If a bridge were to collapse due to poor design, should we then ban all bridges? Or should we work toward a better design? Story 28. I'd love that, but how do you enforce it? I'm not using my ID for every website I go onto. That's some dystopian shoot. Story 29. I don't support unfeasible or feel-good laws. They're a waste of time, selectively enforced, and ultimately it's just plain dumb. Should people under 14 be on social media? Probably not, with the way the current trends are heading. Can anyone who is not in the child's school, home, or social circle stop it? Also, no. Accountability for a child starts and stops at their parents. If the parent is unwilling to parent, no amount of social media bans, teachers, or schools are going to fix the issue. Until parents go back to limiting screen time or learning how to actively manage their children, it's a waste of time and resources to try to ban the kid from social media because they'll just create fake profiles and hide it further. TLDR. Parents need to parent. BigDaddy.gov and the social media posse isn't going to be able to come in your home and take away little Timmy's iPhone 17, brand new iPad, or laptop. Ultimately, I see this as the knock-on effects of parents being unwilling or unable to step away from the workplace to actually parent. This can be laid squarely at the corporate policies and government support of do more work, work more hours, and you will do it for less pay hustle. Culture. If single-income homes were more feasible and parents were more able to actively police their children, different story, but that is a topic unrelated to the question. Story 30. I don't support banning on anything, honestly. People who really want it will get it, and society will ostracize those who do anyway, if it's not socially acceptable. Bans usually exist only to serve some governmental purpose, not to bring benefit to common people. Story 31. Yes, but my kids are already banned. If you let your kids loose on the internet, then you are a bad parent. Story 32. 100. Read The Anxious Generation by Jonathan Haidt. It will show you how bad social media is. It hits young girls the hardest. Story 33. Overall, the main issue this sort of policy is trying to solve is a community issue. Issues where parents are punished if their kids are caught outside. Issues where kids are expected to enter niche and increasingly curated cultures. And issues where parents refuse accountability yet want more control over their kids' lives. This law isn't about helping kids, it's about censoring and isolating them. Just let websites ban underage users. Story 34. Yes, 100. But 18 would be better. Social-focused media like Instagram, Facebook is a societal cancer. And having seen what just having smartphones has done to a generation, those should be out too. Should be no smartphones until you're 18, only regular phones. That said, pretty sure it's all too late. The bar for acceptable human stupidity has been pushed so low by the US that the entire human species is in danger. Story 35. Yeah, I support banning social media for anyone under 14, because at that age, kids often aren't emotionally ready to handle the pressure, comparison, and potential dangers online. Giving them more time to develop offline social skills and confidence can help protect their mental health. Story 36. I've gotten so much dislike for saying stuff like this. People are fudge delusional if they think teenagers need access to the internet. 247. Story 37. Absolutely not. Being able to navigate social media is now an essential life skill. Banning kids from using it isn't going to stop the rest of the world from using it. They're going to need to understand it as adults for everything from maintaining their household to getting a job. Not allowing them to start learning early is only putting them at a disadvantage. My parents tried to stop me and my sister from being on the computer all the time because they thought the internet and computers were gonna rot our brain, and they wanted us to go outside and play. We learned to bypass the programs. They put on the PCs to limit our screen time. Today we are both software developers. It'd probably be good for there to be some parental controls to limit certain problematic activities. But a blanket ban will have terrible long-term consequences. You just have them start using it in adulthood completely naive, with no supervision and no understanding of the environment they are entering. Story 38. No, I support empowering parents, teachers, community leaders, and role models to teach children how to use the internet responsibly. Story 39. When I have had supposed 13-year-olds come on to me and offer to date me at my age, yes, I think there should be a ban. Lucky for them, I wouldn't. Unlucky for them, someone else probably did. Story 40. Yes, Although I think enforcement is practically unlikely or impossible, AI may solve this. I don't think the human brain has evolved to effectively combat the psychological onslaught of social media apps. Story 41. I don't think so. The majority of social interactions happen online nowadays, sorry. Dumb timeline, but it is what it is. Also, a legal ban of social media starts to tread on issues of free speech, as well as, what is social media? Many online games have some sort of chat. Should we legally ban 14-year-olds from playing online games? I understand social media can be unhealthy, but Christ almighty, man, just get one of those apps that limit your time, or just talk to your children and make sure they are engaging in healthy habits online. That being said, I am okay with certain sites like Facebook, for instance, having a user agreement that you must be a certain age to use. Story 42. Banning things doesn't work, so no. The only possible thing you can do is educate and hope they make good choices. Story 43. I have two 13-year-olds, and we have explained to them in great detail why they are not allowed to use social media. They do not need it. Story 44. Banning it, no, but I don't think anyone under 15 should be posting. They can scroll, but they shouldn't be posting anything. Story 45. I don't support outright banning it, but I'd like to see it being moderated to a much bigger degree than it is now. For children, I'd love for people to be made aware of the dangers of the internet, social media, and spending too much time online. Story 46. I fully support it. People under 16 shouldn't be able to use social media. It's really not hard to see how damaging it is to kids. Story 47. No bans or censorship should ever be required in a perfect world. Parents should manage this themselves. But some lazy people do not care about their kids. Story 48. In theory, we should leave it with the parents. Our 10Y aren't allowed to have social media yet, except for a moderated Discord for him and his friends, moderated by me. Same goes for most things online: Steam, Roblox, Epic Fortnite, etc. However, not every parent knows how to do this, and not everyone cares, which might bring your kids down a bad path. 14 is a bit harsh, though, no? I can see our kid being allowed to have social media at 12, but still supervised. Story 49. Yes, I support banning social media for kids under 14, and not in a boomer killjoy way, but a protect your brain before it's fried kind of way. Here's why. Brain's still cooking. Under 14, your brain is still wiring itself up literally. Dopamine from likes, followers, and comments hits hard, and young minds start linking self-worth to online validation way too early. Zero filter, full exposure. The algorithm doesn't care if you're 10 or 40. It'll happily throw you content that messes with your mental health, shows you unrealistic beauty standards, or worse, adult content and misinformation. Cyberbullying hits harder. At that age, even one mean comment can feel like the end of the world. Add a constant stream of curated perfection and trolls. Mental health takes a nosedive. FOMO and identity issues. Kids are still figuring out who they are. Social media makes them rush that process, trying to perform instead of just being. Let them grow up with space to be awkward, weird, and offline. Story 50. Not a full ban, but at least a heavily censored and restricted one. I want to believe parents will prepare children for internet safety, but seeing as more and more of them are not lying about their age and are engaging in trends not meant for them, like an absurd skincare routine they should not be doing or politics, they're better off getting the censored version. at least until around 13 years old. Story 51. I'm gonna say yes. I came to this conclusion just yesterday when I opened a link to Instagram. I have the app, but it's never used. I haven't scrolled the app in probably 5 years, but the amount of jerk and titties on the discovery page is nuts. It's 95 just links to OF-type socials. I couldn't have been trusted with unfettered access, and I certainly wouldn't grant it to my kid. I'm old man now, though, so what do I know? Story 52. No, I support regulations of a different kind for social media. If it's predatory for kids, it's predatory for adults. We need regulations that curb algorithmic manipulation of the feed, especially politically and socially. Story 53. Yes, there is no reason for kids to engage in that swamp, but how do you enforce it? That is the real question. Story 54. How about ban advertising for anyone under 18 on social media and bring back fact-checking? You'll never ban kids from social media. Best you can do is ban the negative aspects. Story 55. I support regulating social media to outlaw the kinds.